Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Nogent and today I'm going to show you how to create this Mario brick block animation. So first delete the cube and now we're gonna add another cube. The usual Blender thing. So I want to keep it at this scale because it's easier to work with it for the scale of the cube. So first we're going to measure the gap between the bricks. I would put it at a 0.1. So we just have to move this one 0.1 to the right. So now we have our brick, which is divided into 3 sections, the top one, the middle one and the lower one. So because we know already the gap, I'm going to move this one up to a 0.4 and you're going to see later why I'm doing it exactly this way. I'm going to put another loop cut right here, and this one gonna have a Z at 0.3. So we have again this 0.1 gap here. And I'm doing this so we have here, you can separate the cube by half and see that we have like 1 meter here. And because we're taking 0.1 meter away with this gap and we want our bricks to be the same size, you have like here 6 squares, so 0.6 meters, and this middle section is also going to be 0.6 meters, but we can double it right now, the 0.3 squares here, because on the other sides there are going to be 2. So the next thing we are going to do is to just select this face, duplicate it, press P and separate it by selection so we have a new object. And now I'm going to take this value right here, select these 2 edges, move them on the X to the same value. So now let's edit the middle section. For this I'm going to make another loop cut and put it at a negative value of 0.3. Then the same thing again, duplicate it, press P, selection, new object. And now do the same thing with this one. But here we're gonna have to extrude it and let it extrude to 0.1. So, and this one I want to have in the middle because our gap is in the middle of this brick. So I'm going to put this one on a Y of 0.6. So that the middle gap, or the gap here, is in the middle of this brick. Now we're going to duplicate this one, this edge, move it minus 0.1 to the side and extrude it then on the Y so that this one is in the center of our block. So basically this is almost it. We just now need to mirror most of the stuff. Here you can just activate all the axes, you don't need to pick an object for it. And here we only need X and Y, because this middle section right here is going to be the same one as this one, but we're gonna need to adjust it a little bit. So we're gonna press Shift D to duplicate it and rotate it on the Y by 90 degrees. So, and now we need to have this edge right on the same line or same height as the edges of our corner bricks. On the X 0.4, due to it being the local axis, we need to adjust it by the rotation we just did. I mean, you can apply the rotation and the local should be fine again, but I haven't. So we need to put it into the X as the positive, because now this part shows right down here. So the next thing we are going to do is first of all save, as always, because Blender can crash sometimes. And now select all of our bricks right here. And now what we are going to do is press A and then Control FF. And we see already we have a problem. So our faces are not all the same from the orientation. So put on face orientation and you see these are red. So the inside is where all of the other ones are outside. So what you can do is select the face and this lower one too, because they're still the same. Go to mesh, go to normals, and flip. So all of our faces are now facing outside. So we can select all of our bricks again, and now do Ctrl F and put it inwards. Maybe also go into the wireframe so we can see what we are doing. And I want to put it as much as possible inwards. Yeah, this should be enough. So now we just can actually delete this cube because it has still a lot of edges that we put with the loop cuts in it. And now we can just scale this cube down and have already our gaps, just simply by that. So now we're gonna add some modifiers to make it not look so sharp. First is a bevel modifier. We're gonna lower this value by quite a lot, like 0.01 should be fine, and time it by 2, or make 2 segments out of it, and then select the other bricks and go back to this one where we added the bevel modifier and press copy selected. This will bring the bevel modifier to all our other bricks. Now we can just click A and shade everything smooth, and also activate auto smooth for all. And to activate auto smooth for all our objects, we need to press Alt and then press the button here, so it gets applied to all our objects, and then press Alt again to adjust the degrees so that our texture looks a little bit more normal again. Press Alt, and let's say 20 degrees should be fine. And now the next thing we can also do is select all of the objects, go back to here, to the bevel modifier, press Alt, and put this on arc, as well as putting the shading on hardened by normals. And yeah, this should look now quite nicer. We can put this first of all to the side and now go to the coin. I'm going to have 24 vertices for the coin, rotated by 90 degrees on the Y, and now fill the face, invert it by pressing I. Now move it a little bit on the X-axis, extrude it on the X, and put the origin into the geometry, so we have it centered again in our scene origin, or where the 3D cursor is. Now we can just press Ctrl F again and move it inwards a little bit, like this. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much. Okay. Yeah. And now put the 3D cursor on our face here and add the plane, rotating it to the same angle as the coin, scaling it a little bit so it fits more the size of the coin. Extruding it on the X-axis and moving it a little bit away from the center of the coin on the X. And now select this plane and the coin or circle and press Ctrl- to have the boolean cutter activated. And now we need to press Shift N again to invert the the face orientation, as we saw with the bricks. So we can now cut it and put a mirror modifier on the X and select our coin as the mirror object. And now we have already our coin. Okay, put this to the side. And another thing I'm going to do is to parent all of the objects together. So selecting all of those brick tiles and parenting it with the main cube, as well as doing the same thing for the coin with its objects. So now we can move on to our animation. I'm going to put the cube a little bit above where our ground is going to be on the 0 Z level, and move it back to the center. as well as the coin. And the coin I'm going to put inside the cube and scale it down to 0. You can select multiple axes right here where the values are at by just pressing left click on your mouse and dragging then the mouse down. I'm going to first animate the coin. So we're going to go to all of our scale and insert all of the keys at 1. And let's see, say you see the cube normal for 20 frames. Then it gets hit by Mario, for example, without us having a Mario. But the coin is now supposed to only move on the Z, which is why we only need the single key here. And is now supposed to move to 40 frames all the way up to roundabout here. As well as scaling up to, let's say, 0.8. Yes, the 0.7 should be good. Insert it. And at the same time our coin should be rotating. So on the Z. So insert a single key, frame again on frame 1. And go all the way to the end to frame 50 and make it maybe rotate for like 1000 degrees. Insert single key. And now we can look first of all how fast the rotation is. Yeah. I believe I would like my animation to be a little bit faster. So we're gonna split our scene right here and go to the graph editor and move everything a little bit more to the left. These keyframes that are 40, I believe I want them more at 30. And you can press X so they only move on the X-axis. Right. And on frame 250, I want this rotation to be a little bit faster. So I'm going to double it and replacing a keyframe. And let's see how this now looks. Yeah, this is way better. And now at frame 90 I want to get the coin back to being gone. And therefore we're going to make it smaller by just getting our transform of the scale back to 0. So we're going to insert all the scales again on 90 and go to 200 and put everything down to 0 again. Just like that. So our animation right now looks like this. And now I want the cube a little bit to move, because it looks a little bit odd, just the coin coming out of it without anything happening. So before the coin comes out, I want the cube to get like a little bit bigger. So at keyframe 80 roundabout, we're going to insert our keyframes of the scale and make it go bigger to frame 20 first of all, to like a 1.1 or 1.05. Insert these keyframes. Zoom a little bit in so we can just drag this one back, pressing Shift D, and drag this one right here to 22. Now, yeah, roundabout like that. Should be quite nice. As if Mario hit the block. But I believe we need to pull it a little bit later, like that the center right here is at 22. So it looks like the coin is coming out exactly then when the block gets hit. And this is our animation. So now we are going to texture everything, but first of all we're going to move our cursor back to the world origin and then put a plane there and scale it a little bit up for ground, as well as adding a camera. And this camera we are going to pair to our block, so add a constant with track, and it's supposed to track our cube right here in the middle. And now we can adjust just the position of our camera, and it's going to whole time have a focus on the cube, right, like this. Yeah, roundabout like this. Okay, and now let's go to texturing. So the middle of the cube should be a quite black color, very dark brown. And I'm just noticing I made a little mistake while modeling. This gap right here shouldn't be 0.1 by these two sides, but 0.05. So it's overall a 1 again. This should be like a black, and these bricks should have a brownish color. So move it a little bit like here. Then the tone a little bit down. And by dragging this button now here to our other objects, we can copy the material really quick. Right, now let's just have our animation run a little bit so we can get this coin back. And this coin should have a yellow color, a metallic surface, and the roughness a little bit down to like 0.3. And let's adjust it a little bit to look more like a Mario coin. Kind of like this. But also go 0.4. This should be quite nice. And drag this texture to our bowling object. So this middle is also getting it. And now let's also copy our bevel modifier to our coin. And it's important that the bevel modifier comes after the bowling cutter, because elsewise this section right here is not going to get beveled. Then also add a subdivision modifier, so our coin is a little bit more rounder. I believe we can keep it 1, but there shouldn't be this big of a performance issue, so 2 should be also quite nice. So to solve this issue right here, we just need to first of all apply a subdivision modifier, and for that we need to delete first of all some parts of our coin to then re-add again. So we're going to delete these vertices as well as these ones, select all the faces here and delete those, and select those faces and only delete the faces here. Or actually, no, you can keep them up. I believe it doesn't really matter if you apply now. Yes, if you apply now the subdivision modifier, it doesn't really impact the model. Yeah, everything looks fine. So we can apply the subdivision modifier, which had, as we were seeing, 2 subdivisions, which is fine for our case. Now select those edges again and press right click and go to Loop Tools Bridge and create a bridge. If you don't have these loop tools activated, you have to go to Edit, Preferences, and go to Add-ons and search Loop Tools and check this box right here. The next thing we are going to do is re-add this invert right here by pressing E to extrude S and then double X to go along the local X axis. And roundabout like this, and press then F to fill it again. Now we see there's still an issue right here, and this is getting caused by the bevel modifier. Here we need to turn up loop sides, and this is going to fix it again. Now another thing we are going to do is have to shade and put on auto smooth again, so it looks nice and crisp. Yeah, and everything should be looking fine on the side. Yes. So we can move on to our ground. So I want the ground to be like a turquoise color. Yeah, a little bit more greenish. Somewhat like this. Yeah, this should be alright. And now let's move on to our render and adjust the camera a little bit more, so we can see the full object like this, and extrude the plane a little bit more. Now we add our lighting, some point lights. I believe 2 should be enough, and make this one more green, like a 200, and duplicate it and put it on this side, make it a little bit higher, and this one like a little bit more blue, like this. Could be a little bit brighter too, or should I keep it white? Make it all a little bit brighter because I want the scene to be bright. Yeah, and then I believe our brick texture might be a little bit too dark, so I'm going to adjust it and make it more bright, as well as our coin texture could be also. I believe we can go, yeah, complete brightness on our coin. Yeah, this should do it. And another thing I need to adjust is right here, the gap. As you can see, it's also a little too big, so it needs to be on 0.05, right? And I believe every gap should be now fine. Now we can play around a little bit with our settings, turn on ambient occlusion, bloom and screen-based reflections, and then go to color management and activate the medium high contrast. This is the one I usually like and pick, as well as putting up the exposure a little bit to like a 0.25, and then also use a curve. Move this one a little bit down, this one up. I believe this should be fine, and then we can apply the target 2, because I like this orientation of the camera, and move it a little bit up so we can see our scene a little bit more clear. And yeah, something that you can also do is just remove the shadows of these lights, so it looks like the cube is floating, and there isn't really a ground, so it's more like a background texture. But yeah, however you like it. And there we have the finished product. Hope that helped you, or now you know how to make a Mario brick with a coin. Thank you for watching, and maybe you can leave a comment or a like if you want to, and have a nice day. Bye.